What's up, everybody? This is episode 3 of Music Theory Thursday for Be Steady Records. I'm Bobby Stedman. This week we're going to cover the sharp keys with scales, both major and minor, and also dealing with the circle of fifths. We'll get right to it right after the intro. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome back, everyone, to episode 3 of Music Theory Thursday. And with this episode, like I said with the intro, we're going to talk about the sharp keys, both major and minor. I personally look at those as being one and the same to start with, as far as just the keys themselves. So if we use the key of C major as our blank slate, again, looking back at episode 1 with the musical alphabet, we can do that by starting on the letter C and go from there. And the reason I say that this is a blank slate is the key of C has 0 sharps or flats in it. So we can start with C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and back to C to complete the octave. And when we do this, I'll put numbers above each letter so you guys can see what scale degree that I'm talking about. So our major key will be based off of C, which is 1, and then the natural minor key, which is all we're going to deal with in this episode, will be 6, or starting on the A. So when we convert over to the minor key, we'll start A as 1, but we'll find our major key with 1 and our minor key at the 6th scale degree. And these are often referred to as relative major and minor because they're related by key signature. So you can think of the key signature as being the grandfather, and the two keys, C major and A minor, as being cousins related by that key signature. Now that we know how to find the relative major and relative minor, depending on which direction we're going, we'll be able to do this and transfer it to all subsequent keys that we will discuss. And I have a PDF available for anyone that wants access to that. Just email me at bsteadyrecords@gmail.com, and I'll gladly send you guys a PDF version of the sharp key chart. However, I still recommend that everyone write this stuff down because you'll memorize it better, be able to recall it in a jam situation, or know what chords or keys that you're going to use within a particular key or scale. But that's getting ahead of ourselves right now. So the sharp keys, we're going to base this off of the circle of fifths, okay? So that means C being our blank slate. To get to our next key, we're going to count up 5. So we'll go from C, D, E, F, and G. So G is 5 letters away, and we'll drop that down to start our next key. And when we do this in the chart, and even on the video here, I'll have all this posted up, we'll see that the key of G major has 1 sharp. So as we go down the circle of fifths, a sharp will be added each time, and the place that we're going to add the sharp will be in the 7th scale degree. So once we move down to another key, we'll remain with all the previous sharps, adding the new sharp to the 7th scale degree. So the key of G, now that we've moved away from the key of C, we've got G, A, B, C, D, E, and our 7th scale degree, we're going to add the sharp. So we'll have F sharp back to G, completing the octave. The major key is G. If we go over to the 6th scale degree, that's an E note. So we have E minor. Again, they're related by the key signature. It has one sharp. So you have G major or E minor. Before we drop down to the next key, which will be D major or B minor, I want to discuss how to find on music what your key is. So with the key of C, again, that's a blank slate, so we kind of have to memorize that one. Once we get to G major and E minor, your sharp will be your identifier that will help you find your key. So if you go to the F sharp on the staff and then count up 1 from the sharp, just go up 1 letter. Since that's on an F sharp, the next letter is G. So that tells us our major key. If we go down 1 to the space on the treble clef, then it'll be an E note. So that's E minor. So whatever your last sharp is, which with G we only have 1 sharp, but every time you add a sharp, whatever the last sharp is, the note above is your major key. The note below that sharp is the minor key. Moving on to the key of D major. Again, we're doing the circle of fifths. We start on G, and then we count over 5 notes. So G, A, B, C, D. So D is our 5th scale degree over. We're going to drop that down and start from D. So we have D, E, we're going to keep the F sharp from the previous key, G, A, B, and then we get to the 7th scale degree. That's where we're going to add the new sharp, and that's going to be C sharp, completing the octave at D. And the key of D has 2 sharps in it. So the last sharp that we just added is C sharp. If you look on any clef, the note above the sharp is going to be D, and the note below the sharp is going to be B for B minor. So those will be your indicators of telling you what what key you're looking at, depending on any clef. It doesn't matter what clef. And last week's episode was on clefs. So again, these theory episodes go in succession. If you've missed any previous episodes, I encourage you to watch those from the beginning. Episode 1, 2, and now 3, which will get us in the sharp keys. Next week, I should do the flat keys, and we'll see how that goes. So if we're on the key of D now, we go over 5. I'm going to speed this up now because hopefully you guys have the concept. If you look down the side, your sharps just go up by 1 number each time. So the key of D, we just ended with 2 sharps. So the next key will be A or F sharp minor. And that's going to have 3 sharps in the key signature. And this way, it will be a shortcut for you guys just to look at the number of sharps on any staff, and any clef, and be able to figure out what key you're in. Doesn't matter if it's on bass clef, treble clef, tenor, or alto clef. So we're on the key of A or F sharp, and we'll drop down to the next 5, which will be the key of E with 4 sharps. And then we'll do E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp is the new one at the 7th scale degree, back to the octave E. And with the circle of fifths with the sharp keys, there are going to be a total of 7 sharps that you will go up to. So our next key would be the key of B which will get us to 5 sharps. The key of F sharp is the next one that gets us to 6 sharps. And then finally the key of C sharp, which is going to give you every note exactly the same as where we started, just each note's going to have a sharp at this time. Now in future episodes we're going to discuss how to build chords, intervals. Now, to play any major key on an instrument is actually fairly simple if you're just thinking about it in half steps and whole steps. And again, we discussed this in episode 1. Let me grab a guitar here. And what we're going to do is I can start on any note of the guitar, or any note on the piano, or bass, or whatever instrument you decide to use. So with this, all we have to do is follow our order of whole steps and half steps. So a major key, you're going to have, I'm going to start on the 1st fret of the 6th string, which is an F note. So we're going to have a whole step, so we'll skip a fret, a whole step, we'll skip a fret, and then a half step, then a whole step, whole step, whole step, and half step. And those are the order of whole steps and half steps that you need to complete a major scale on an instrument. So that will be the major scale pattern. Likewise, you can do a pattern of whole steps and half steps to create a natural minor pattern, or all 3 forms of minor. You have natural minor, harmonic minor, and melodic minor. This episode we're only dealing with natural minor because we do not want to manipulate any of the notes. So again, if we're trying to find the minor key, we can start at the 6th scale degree. And let's say we'll do the open 5th string, which is A. So this will put us in A minor. So you have a whole step, then a half step, then a whole step, another whole step, half step, whole step, back to the octave, whole step, A. And that way you can start practicing at least 1 octave scales on 1 string. Now we're going to deal more with this later in future episodes as well, but that'll get you understanding the half steps and the whole steps that you need. So try to play around with these major and minor scales, get used to constructing them, make sure you remember what the key signatures look like as far as the number of sharps go. And again, next week hopefully we'll do the flat keys, which I base off of the circle of fourths. If you guys want to try figuring that out on your own, if you don't know how to do that already, but I will create an episode next week based on flat keys. And again, those will go up to 7 flats, just like we went up to 7 sharps today. That will pretty much wrap us up for episode 3 of Music Theory Thursday for the sharp keys. And then again, this is based on scales and more so, and we'll get into the chord construction and intervals in future episodes as well after we cover the flat keys. So that wraps us up. I will catch you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Be Steady Records. I'm Bobby Stedman, and I am out. Don't forget to click like and subscribe.